Welcome everybody. What a great day it is to have a new webinar on a new product. We've got a great set of topics to talk to you about today. We've been out listening to customers over the last few months, hearing that they really want to have everything in one place. And we brought a panel together of folks from all over the world who work for JobScience, from the United States, from Atlanta, from Melbourne, Australia, from Boston, from London, from Vancouver. We've got everyone here today to talk to you about our new product. And we're using the TED Talk webinar this month to really focus on what JobScience is bringing to the table when it comes to running a recruitment business. So for those of you who are our corporate clients, you might want to listen to see what we're building, but our major release for you will be in May. Right now, this product is really designed for folks who run recruiting as a business, and we're going to take you through the new Lion edition. So I'm Ted Elliott, CEO of JobScience, and we've decided to build what we call the Lion Business Edition because we want our customers to be king of the jungle. And by bringing together all the parts of their business into a single system that will allow them to have visibility to what their workers are doing from all the way from winning new business to invoicing, we think we have a powerful new suite to present to you. So for those of you who follow JobScience, you know that last year we did 2 releases, the Moose and the Shark. This year we'll be doing 2 new products and 1 major release. In the last releases we did, we released the Lightning Experience, the Sourcing Center, AI scoring, email integration, Power Notes, the CV Workbench, interview scheduling, and lots of features. And we've got some new features and new capabilities in the Lion Edition. But we also have brought it together into a holistic suite that really takes you through the entire experience of running a professional business focused on recruiting. So what have we put together at JobScience to make you king of the jungle? Well, it all starts with our front office, which we've been working on for years, that has great tools for recruitment and marketing. But once you find a candidate, you need to onboard them. So we're going to show you some new onboarding technology. We have a new compliance technology for managing your InfoSec, GDPR, and HR policies. We have new communities to allow you to communicate to customers, contractors, vendors, employees. We have new business development tools to allow you to go out and win new business, building company lists. We have a new document management system to allow you to tag and create packages of information to send out to clients. And we have an enhanced financial package to allow you to do timesheeting, invoicing, and commission generation. Now that all then ties together with integrations to multiple payroll systems and multiple GLs. So in essence, you can now have a single system of record for all the key data in your business using JobScience. And that's what's so exciting to us, is we really think this is a game changer for our customers. Heather, maybe we should start off by looking at what Jill, if she's a sales rep, would do in the system. How would she manage business? What would her day look like? So let's go ahead and see what the heck is Jill going to do to manage sales in the new Lion Business Edition.
I am Jill, the sales rep. All I might care about is my accounts, new leads I'm adding, new contacts. I might be getting managed by that. I might have goals on that. I might also be managing my job opportunities that I've created. And so I'll be able to put those things on my homepage and manage those very quickly. You'll notice that in the main page, we've got our company list. So Jill, the big thing that she's going to be doing is she's going to be managing her accounts and her contacts in her accounts. She's also got to figure out a really good way to maybe set up campaigns and reach out to those people. So across the top, you'll notice that we can create accounts. So if I wanted to, I could very quickly go into an account, create a new account, and then start adding information. We're going to work with Amazon. A couple things that you're going to see here is you've got things, key indicators across the top. You've got their website. You have all of the details on Amazon. And then also on the right-hand side, you're going to be able to see all of the email campaigns that you've sent already on the contacts. You're going to be able to see any type of responses, any type of campaigns that you've done, or any nurturing that you've done in this account. So you'll be able to actually manage campaigns on your contacts as well. Now, you'll also notice we have things like opportunities and job orders. So as Jill is actually sending campaigns out, creating company lists for her target accounts, she's also going to be able to start following up with them, creating tasks, and then getting leads from them. So you'll notice that the tab across the top for company lists, this allows Jill or any marketing specialist or anyone in recruiting to start actually managing groups of targeted lists that they want to actually start campaigning to or doing some sort of outreach. So you'll notice I have several here. If I were to go into all of my company lists, the nice thing here about this is you can have company lists created in two different ways. So you can have a company list based off of a group of companies in an industry or any type of filtered criteria, or you might say, hey, I have a job opportunity. Maybe we have a really large pipeline of technology people or financial people, that a group of technology people that we want to, be able to introduce you to. So if I go into one of my target a company lists, you'll notice I've already created one, but you can do that very quickly by taking action. So you can add companies. So if I wanted to add a company to my list at any point, I can do that. And I could do a search on my companies. So if I didn't have this company already, I could quickly add that company to my list. So I could start doing a search. So in this particular example, we're looking at all technology companies. So we're going to start managing and sending out information or sending out campaigns or doing outreach to anybody that's a contact in our technology companies that are in our target list. What I could do from here is very easily do a multi-select on those companies, take action on them, and it allows me to add contacts to my list. So what this does is we'll take all of the contacts that are attached to that account and we'll actually add them into a contact list, all into one distribution list for you. You can also jump right into the employee list, and that's going to link you right into LinkedIn and all of the contacts that are tied to an employer. So that allows you to then bring those people in additionally as contacts. We want to do something. We want to take action on these people. So what we're going to do from here is we may want to now do a multi-select. And as I hover the action button, you'll notice that I now can do something else. I can start sending emails right from here. I don't have to go to another place. I can actually initiate an email campaign right from this spot. So now all I have to do is say, what email do you want to send? I can create templates and have unique templates for each different type of campaign that I'm doing. And you'll notice you also have the ability to CC people. And here's my template all laid out for me. So this might be a really good example of, hey, you know what? We want to do an outreach. We want to let you know that we have a really great group of technologists that we have on staff at the ready for any of your contract positions. So it allows you to predetermine the template and also embed links. So once we send that email, then it's going to also tell you which things have been sent successfully and which things have not been sent successfully. So we're going to track all of your things like, what was sent, what was opened, what was bounced, what was read. So all of those activities will be able to be tracked on your company list, as well as actually the contact record itself. There's another way that you can actually dynamically create a company list. That is through a job order. So with our research brief, that allows you to select criteria on the job order and say, hey, I want to target a solution architect that has worked for these 3 big companies. If those companies are in your database, that will automatically create a targeted list for you. So the nice thing about that is if I go back to my company list, you'll notice that whenever there is a job order attached, that means that there was a research brief created. And that allows you to dynamically say, hey, we're going to target anybody that works for those companies. Jill might have a contact at Amazon, and she might be talking to that contact. That contact might give her another contact name in another department. Her contact at Amazon has just given her a name. So you might want to track that source. So the source for referral allows you to track the source of where one of your contacts is coming from and tie that to the referral. So you can track referrals and then they become a contact in your system, and then you can start doing outreach to them. Once she's done some of her campaigns, she's going to say, you know what? I feel really confident that I'm going to get a job order filled and I'm going to get this contract. So in that particular case, she's going to start to get ready and fill out a job opportunity on that. So within that job opportunity, she'll be able to track things around the job. So what are the details? And she'll be able to start doing outreach on this particular job as well. So what are all the details of the primary recruiter? What kind of bill rate would we typically charge for a technical person? So all of the criteria kind of in the early stages. Now you'll notice that we could start tracking things like forecast revenue, and you'll notice that there's a little tab right in the upper left that says create job order. So when Jill actually wins the right to work on this and fill this job order, then you can click create job order, and that can actually create some other details that you have to fill out for that job order, allowing you to potentially post that job. Can also notify through workflow or approval, maybe your recruiters to start sourcing on that job. We have a concept of dashboards for the manager and dashboards also for recruiters or sales reps. So this is just one example of a manager dashboard. So the manager might want to know, out of all of his group, how are they doing? What kind of activities are doing? What kind of opportunities are they closing? They might want to see a commission report. So how many placements have they placed and what kind of commissions need to be paid out? So through one dashboard, Kent, the sales manager, is going to be able to see everything in one place. See who's their top leader as far as calls, activities, and email campaigns. You might want to see your revenue forecast. You might also want to see things like, hey, how are we doing on completed activities? So everything can be in one page for you. So Sourcing Center allows you to actually create filters or do full searches on your whole candidate database. So if I were to click on candidates, we can look at our whole candidate database, do a multi-select, select all of those, and then take action on those people. So this allows us to add all of these people to a short list, as well as email all of those candidates. So not only does the marketing and salesperson allow you to go in and manage campaigns to just the people that they're in charge with, but you also as a marketing specialist can do this on a full database basis. So all of your candidates or all of your contacts that reside in the system. So again, I can go into my templates, I can manage those, I can create templates on the fly, and then I can also go in and manage and send a template out to all of my candidates. We might want to message them things like, hey, join our community and here's a newsletter and we'd love for you to complete our survey. So in this particular case, again, you can actually embed a survey that you can create with our forms builder. You also have a community that you can attach, and that could be for job seekers or for current candidates that are on assignment. You might have something like a job search. So if someone gets an email, they can then go right into the job search and they can register right from here and then apply to a job. Is the marketing specialist has control over managing these communities. And so if you want to be able to manage and update these communities, the user or the hiring manager at Amazon can actually see all of their assignments. You'll be able to update them with news that's going on, give them statistics and placements that you've done throughout the year. So this gives a really full snapshot of what everything can be done, everything that can be done with the marketing specialist. So managing contacts and doing campaigns, managing the templates that go out, managing all of your candidates, and then also managing their communities that you're going to set up.
Heather, thanks for giving a great demo of how you can generate business and manage sales and marketing and all these different tasks that you have in the suite. I think you did a great job of showing off the new company list feature and how to do email campaigns to your prospects and your candidates from within Job Science. I'd like to now shift to the next stage in the process, is to talk to Simon a little about, Simon, can you show us a little how recruiters will use the system?
So I think a key to Simon from a recruitment perspective is that we've got the sourcer. So a big part of the sourcer's role is to be able to go out, build up talent pools, being able to mine certain key sites like LinkedIn and such in the database, and then being able to hand those over to the recruiter. So to show you how that, a key function for Job Science is what we call the Sourcing Center. So the Sourcing Center, as you can see here, is we've built it quite similar to LinkedIn to help with consultants being able to see something familiar with how they do their search. So a couple of ways in which you can do the search is to be able to do things like Boolean, where that actually literally does word searching throughout the resume. The other great thing you'll see down the left-hand side is the ability to build out certain filters based on things like locations. So being able to say, this particular candidate or such is within a certain radius of a certain location, where we can even do things like being able to do like radius search as well. Also being able to add things, being able to do like salary, skills, and job titles as well. So one of the great things with some of these is that you might be able to say that if it's for a particular employer, they might say someone who's worked for a particular company. So you might say someone who's working currently at one particular employer or is not working for another employer. So the filters you can see can get quite specific and targeted. So the idea then is that as a consultant looking through the various search results, the different views that they might have is to be able to say, I'll look at a grid view, which most consultants quite like, or a punch list, or being able to go through and say, all right, well, show me that particular resume, and also being able to then see things like my activity notes, contact details, or even the LinkedIn profile as well. So some of the great things from that perspective is, as I like these particular candidates, I can select or multi-select them, or even select all of them, and I can then literally put them into what we call a shortlist. So the key thing with shortlists is being able to group candidates into buckets, if you like, of candidates. And being able to do that, what we can then do is that I can create these shortlists. And as I create the shortlist, if I was to create a new one, the option might be allow me to, save a particular shortlist, which will then allow other consultants to come in and actually grab that shortlist and being able to use it for their own recruitment purposes. Other functionality from a sourcing perspective might be that I want to actually go into LinkedIn and I might want to be able to mine or do a search for a certain candidate. A lot of cases from a sourcing perspective, I might want to look up, let me find this great candidate. And then from a candidate perspective, what I could then be able to do is to say, look, do we want to put this person in the database? You might say, probably not. And we might say, look, here's a more suitable candidate specifically for the job. So in this case, we might say, hey, listen, we like this guy, he could fit the bill. What we want to do is be able to save that particular candidate into our desktop. So you can actually go through a whole sourcing process all across LinkedIn, save people into your desktop. So you might be able to say, look, I've got this whole bucket or a whole folder full of candidates. What I can literally do is I can go into a tool which lets me be able to look through all those resumes, parse them into the system, create resumes and contacts without me having to manually type in anything. So a great thing with that is to say, look, what sort of role that I might be looking at. So again, a key part of how you add them is to actually tag them and how you want them to appear into the database. So initially as a sourcer, I might say, look, do I want to put them into a job? Or I might say, what I want to do is actually put them into a shortlist because I'm sourcing for another consultant. So here I can say, well, I found all my candidates, where I've sourced them from. So what you're basically doing is tagging how you want those candidates to appear in the database. So you can see here, here's the example of the resume I have. And one of the great things is you can literally drag and drop your candidates into the search tool. The other thing I can also do is if I've got a folder of candidates, I can literally come in here and dump my whole candidates that are in my folder onto the system. So being able to then actually add that person to the database, what I can literally do is add that candidate through to the system, which will then let me, the system parse through and create that record, and then immediately see how that candidate is then created into Job Science. So basically from that perspective, you can sort of imagine sort of the source's role is completed. So the next handoff point is actually going into the consultant. So what a consultant's going to be doing is basically taking the job order, working through a brief process, and then being able to actually manage candidates that potentially that have applied from a job that he's had posted on a job board, like Indeed or such, and then being able to manage those candidates back through the system to process, interview, and so on, or even being able to email out to candidates and present to candidates and clients to be able to manage those candidates back to the process. So let's have a little look at that. So initially, from a perspective, we might start whether it's a sales role, so the job might have come from another part of the team. So in this case, we might have what's called a job opportunity. So in this case here, the job is actually a role that's come in, but it's actually a position that might have been won or won from the sales team. So what I can literally do as a consultant, I can literally create that job from the job sales opportunity role and convert that into an actual live job assignment. So from that perspective, what we then can look at is we can actually say, well, let's have a look at what that job might look like. In this case here, we can look at a particular assignment. Here's one I've created earlier. So looking at the particular job, the key things I want to look at is the sort of role, the location, sort of where the role might be. We're also seeing the contact details and especially the commissions or the compensation amounts that I have too. You'll notice here we've got the salary amounts and whatever percentage fees that I might be charging, because again, part of what we're doing in Job Science is getting things like fees and such that I can then report on. And I'll show you some examples of why that's important for commission calculations and such also. But the other part of the role is that as I sort of create the role and the job, what I'm going to then look at doing is to be able to say how I might actually create a job position. In this case here, I've created the role and the detail of what the role might be. But what I can also do is create what we call a job brief. And using a brief functionality, what we can actually do is define, well, what specifically are the key conditions as I'm talking to the client over the phone of what they're looking for, what their function might be. The other thing I might also define then is also what would be potentially the ideal candidate. What are the roles, the salary expectations that I'm looking for as well. And also other things like, what the industry the role might be in, if there's any particular conditions where I have to have this role sourced in a certain time frame. So from that perspective, I can then, once I've created the brief, we've got the ability to be able to do things like being able to do a search for the job, or even if I want to put the job up on a job board, what I also might do is create what we call some pre-screening questions. Because what I want to show is that when someone actually applies to a job, I might actually want to make sure the candidates, when they apply, go through a series of questions. So one of the things that you can do with Job Science is being able to just quickly show you sort of the functionality we have when being able to create what we call question sets. So from that perspective, what we can do is being able to say, okay, well, here's some key questions that we have. So what happens is that when I'm actually on the job order or on my job board, when I'm actually looking at a particular role, the candidate can actually go through those series of questions as they apply to the job. So here we can actually then see the candidate related to that particular job. And Job Science even has what we call an ATS module, or applicant management system. So a key part of what we have within here is to be able to say, well, show me all the candidates that I'm particularly working on for this particular role. In a lot of cases, what I can do is I can say, well, show me all the people who've applied. And we can do some great things being able to actually then say, okay, well, as I look at these candidates, how am I going to be able to review these candidates, call them, book interviews, send them emails and such. There's this great function we have called Speed Review, where the idea then is that in one quick view, I can see everything I need to for processing the particular candidate. Looking at the resume, some skills, I can even say, well, while I'm on the phone to that person, I can even say, well, let's edit some of the quick summary pages, edit where their start date's going to be, so I can even log all my notes and activities while I'm on the phone. So you can see I'm not clicking all over the place here. So here we can move them forward in the recruitment process. So I might say I actually want to conduct an interview, send them an offer, negotiate, or move them through what we call stages in the recruitment workflow. Likewise, you also might want to say, look, this particular person isn't any good, we might knock them back from a rejection. Or also we might say, we saw those shortlist functions. We're actually able to put them into what we call a shortlist. So you can sort of see that, all throughout the product is being able to actually add candidates to the shortlists, leverage them through the sourcing tools, so that consultants are constantly managing these lists throughout the whole workflow of the recruitment cycles. Using the presentation function we have, we can actually say, look, here is a great list of talent. And then the consultant can then go over here and to say, well, what is my preference for candidate? And then even being able to go in and say here, right, well, what is the notes, So what you're actually able to do then is that as you present the candidates, you can actually say, well, who do we want to see who do we want to send the content to? The client actually gets a nicely formatted email. So when they actually send the presentation, the client will receive an email in their inbox, and then being able to click directly into the presentation system. So certainly from here, I can actually go into my email. I can actually then see, the candidate submissions that I might want to see in the system. And again, from a template perspective, you can do things like do HTML, so you can actually put your branding on it. But a key thing from the client's perspective, you can say, hey, here's a great list of talent. Again, from a client's perspective, I can actually see all my candidates. And, the favourite candidate I might have, you can say, hey, this guy's the bomb. So from that perspective, as part of the feedback, the client can say, don't hire, might disagree. And that information will then come back into the database and notify the consultant when that actual activity happens. From a manager, what we can then see is what's happening across my team. So being able to see things like activities, forecasts of commissions and such. Or likewise, if I'm managing a headcount, we're wanting to look at how many hires have been made or coming into the system. The other thing we can look at is to say, well, what sort of requests are coming in, if there's any terminations, leave of absences across my team as well. And all this can be submitted again through some of the forms that you saw earlier before as well. Certainly, as part of some of these reports, this all can be accessible via their mobile phone. So all this information doesn't have to be always accessible from the desktop computer. Aside as the final persona to quickly look at, we have what we call the HR specialist. And from that perspective, an HR specialist would run a series of things, being able to look at what's happening across the team or the company with regards to things like who the new hires might be, being able to also look at other things like, oversee what placements are coming in, being able to see, some of the activities with regards to referrals and keeping track of references. So as part of what we have is a bit of a homepage for that person, we can then see everything in one clear spot. And certainly being able to send things like examples, looking at capturing online forms, again through capturing payroll information. This is all sort of thing that we can then capture in Job Science and then pass that through to payroll.
Simon, thanks for showing us the process from sourcing all the way to onboarding or intaking a new employee. I think there's one new feature that we've got, which is these attachment packs allow you to take the information you gain throughout the process and package them up. And Sean, I was hoping you could just give us a quick demo of that specific new feature that we have in the system.
So the attachment packs feature has been designed to meet requirements in recruiting where massive books of candidate documentation would have to be located, collated, and printed. This task could take a recruiter up to half a day or more. Now, attachment packs enable the recruiter to categorize attachments on jobs and categories into specific types, and then create consolidated PDFs via web links to deliver easily to customers or internal management requiring thorough documentation on a large pool of applicants. I have these candidates here that I think will be a good fit. If I go to my applications related list on the job order, out of all these candidates here, maybe these are the three here that I think will be, the best fit, and I want to present them or documentation that applies to the job order, like the job advert, for example. So once I select the ones that I want, then I'm going to want to create my attachment pack. So I'm just going to hit export attachments. That's going to bring up this window here that's going to allow me to choose which attachments that I want to include in the attachment pack. So this first one here, these are the docs that I would want to choose from my job order. And the candidate docs are down here, so any ones I would want to include from my candidate. So maybe from the, from the job order, I want to just do, the posted job advert. Maybe from the candidate docs, I'll do, the original CV, a cover letter, and references, just because that's what I have. We can see over here a nice little indicator here of which types of documents that we've chosen. And then from here, you can also, decide how you want those documents sorted in the attachment pack. The job order one is always going to be first, but then as far as the candidates go, you could say, first name A to Z or last name, and then also the stages for A to Z. Once you have it set the way you want it, you just hit export. So now what it's going to do is it's going to start processing all that documentation to build up that PDF and create a link that you're able to then forward off to the account manager. Okay, so we'll go to the related list on this temp admin job order here. And we'll come down to the attachment packs. So now both of them are completed. This is the one that I just did, obviously, and we have this link here. This link is what you could email off to the hiring manager. When they click on it, it'll take them into the attachment pack. And then we could see the first page of it is the job advert that we put in there. And then underneath there, we're going to have Andy, and we could see they're in alphabetical order by first name. But, we have his resume. We have a reference letter, things like that for Andy. And then we go into Dave, and we have all of his information as well. And then on down to Judith.
Sean, thanks for doing a great job of describing how attachment packs work. Another really powerful feature that we have as part of the business edition are the community templates. And we have templates for all different types of areas where we're giving you ideas of what you can do with the platform in terms of communicating to your suppliers, your customers, your contractors, engaging people with communities as a marketing technique. In addition to those communities, what we've also built is compliance. And one of the communities that we built out is a compliance community. So what I'd like to do is bring Jeremy, who's from the UK, up to talk a little about how we can address compliance with GDPR within the Job Science solution.
Now, we're back with Colton. And so Colton's on his mobile phone, and he's been placed but he has also thought about whether or not he wants us to have his information on him. So I go back home from Colton's job seeker community, he can make a number of different requests. So for instance, here you can see there's a bit of a example GDPR request flow. Colton might say, okay, well, I'm not keen for you guys to keep my information, so I'm going to request or raise a request to be forgotten. And what these different flows allow you to do is allow you to capture and engage with your candidates or clients, capture information, and then automatically create particular records back into JobScience itself. So so Colton, would be able to raise that request, add comments here. He clicks next, and that's a little thank you message for him. And then that is where we go and transfer over to our compliance manager, Chaz. So let's go into compliance. So Chaz is a compliance manager. He's recently been employed as a data protection officer, for example, to look after GDPR in a number of in Europe, for example. And so here is a view of what Chaz would see on a sort of day-to-day basis. So he's got his requests that he's received today. He's got legitimate interest alerts around potential notifications for you that you've had contacts with no activity for a particular amount of time, and other customizable dashboards as well. For GDPR, he's taken the first steps of making sure that he and his company are compliant. So with using the JobScience compliance framework as a tool, and then engaging with other consultants through partners like Comply GDPR to define those policies. He's able to create those policies, associate model terms in terms of clauses that he wants to present out through things like communities and his website. And then he's also able to view his requests. So that request from Colton has just come in. And he's able to view that request and then start moving it along the process. So he's received the request, he's able to move it to investigated, and then raise the appropriate actions in which he needs to take to address that request. All at the same time, this request record here is also being able to be accessed by Colton via his mobile device as well. So he's always able to get an update on where the status is, and up to the point where we have executed that status there. On top of that, with conjunction with Salesforce, we're also tracking this as a record associated with Colton's details. So you can see here, we've got Colton Christian in the database, and we've got an individual record that is associated with Colton. And this is where we capture all his individual data preferences. So you can see here, just down on the bottom right, that a tick box is automatically being checked to say that he needs to be forgotten, or we need to forget this individual. And all of that is being captured and is linked through JobScience's compliance framework and the data privacy preference from Salesforce.
Jeremy, thanks for giving us that great overview of how JobScience is addressing compliance and using communities to do it. It was great to see the mobile, it was great to see the community, it was great to see the process. Now let's take a shift to Michael Eisinger, who's from Canada. And Michael, if you could take us through how the back office works. I think that's a really important function of the overall JobScience system, and would love to see what you can take us through.
You might have a client in one state or doing staffing in one state versus another. So you might need to do configuration of your placement and how your contractor and your clients work down to the placement level. So things like rate card information, you might have a client that wants a specific week ending date for this timesheet versus another, or they want to have, the example I mentioned, they might be staffing in California, and as everyone here knows, they have very unique overtime and rules around breaks versus a company based in another state where they follow federal. So it really allows configuration down to that placement level. So once an employee or once Arnell has configured the placement and onboard this employee to start entering in time, that's when they're going to jump into the community and be able to submit time here. So it looks like Marcy's just trying to connect with me on LinkedIn right here. But let me actually jump in here. So here I'm a contractor. I've actually, having submitted a couple different timesheets. So I'm actually going to jump into one of these timesheets and submit them over so I can get paid. Now, one of the unique things we offer is you have the ability to, of course, submit time in different ways, whether it's by hours or time in and time out. Does your team or do your contractors ever have to submit time like for PTO or jury duty or sick days or anything like that?
Yeah, that type of stuff will definitely come up.
Okay, perfect. Well, let me show you how the contractor could simply enter in their hours. And maybe in this case, it's 8 hours or 4 hours on, well, not Sunday, but Tuesday was regular hours, but 4 hours on the other part of Tuesday was actually PTO. And I could just put in a quick note that this was a vacation and be able to record, different hour types. That's a big differentiator from a lot of other solutions, which just allow you to enter in your time. And another key thing is, we talked about that placement configuration. One of the items we had configured was holidays. So it automatically recognized that, this is Martin Luther King Day. So it's highlighted that for the temps. So if they didn't work that, they know not to enter in their time there. We could also submit expenses, but what I want to do is actually jump into really how a lot of contractors work nowadays is, they might be on site, they're not in front of a computer, and they might want to submit time from their mobile phone. So here I'm actually going to log into my mobile device here. I'm in that same portal experience, like we saw with the previous communities, tailored for your mobile phone. Now here, the nice thing is I could enter in my time, I could enter in my expenses. So here I have a quick expense. I'm just going to put in, it's $50. And then right here, I'm going to attach a receipt. And this was actually right from here, from my phone. I could take a picture. And it looks like I went out drinking at Redstone American Grill. So I might not get this approved, but I'm going to send this over. And it automatically attaches that receipt. This is also really nice when dealing with things like if you ever have clients that deal with paper time cards and you want that signed copy still attached, your contractors could take a photo of that time copy, and then the client will actually receive this for approval. And that's actually what we're going to jump into next, is we're going to jump into the client's experience of being able to approve timesheets. So how they can review and mass approve, and then also talk about the kind of notifications that go out. So let me jump into the client's experience. So right here, I have an example of a bunch of different submitted timesheets for all my different contractors that are placed at my organization. I can go in here, select all of them, and mass approve. But maybe in this case, I want to review a couple of them. And in this case, I see one that's 48 hours. And I know this person didn't work overtime. So I have that quick visualization. I could put in a quick note here, didn't work overtime, and reject that timesheet. So it allows you to, make the changes, review, reject, and then mass approve, all from a notification that you'll get both on the contractor side and client when you have timesheets to submit or to approve. Let me now jump into our workflow with back office. So I'm going to jump into our solution here. I'm going to go into our back office app. This gives me a quick visual of how the back office health is doing. This is a simple example of, for Arnell, it'll quickly show you what timesheets you need to review. You have 1 submitted, 5 pending that you need to take action on. Or for you, Nolan, the invoices you have pending out there that you need to send out, and then also, what's come back and what we might have actually collected payments back in too. Now, as well, I also have the notifications that come up that I need to take action on. So in this case, I have a note from a contractor that submitted either a chatter notification for us, or for groups larger that might want to evaluate or use a solution called Service Cloud. They could submit cases so you could evaluate and get correspondence back from your contractors if they're having any issues, to then take action and respond back to them. So in this case, I see some notes about dealing with some timesheets, so I want to review all of my timesheets right here. So the nice thing is you're able to go into these timesheets, be able to review things like your pending not submitted. So for the period, or now these are the ones you need to follow up with those contractors, otherwise they're not getting paid, as well as ones that have been submitted and waiting for approval. These are going to feed into, for the period, going to feed into our invoicing. So we can't bill our clients until these timesheets are approved. Now, in this case, Arnell, you might have gotten a call from one of the contractors and you need to edit the timesheet on the fly. Does that happen often? So right here, what I'm going to do is be able to drill down into a timesheet. So this is one that's pending, and whether it's pending or existing, I can go in and edit the timesheet directly within the system. So you'll be able to manage just all those exceptions that occur, so you can get out payroll quick and fast and accurate. So right here, I could go in and edit the individual hours, put in notes, the exact same functionalities that the contractor had when submitting their time. Once we've compiled all of those and cleaned up all those timesheets, the next step is we could go in and export those out to our payroll. Generally, with a lot of payroll solutions, we send off a flat file of the hours, but we also send off a flat file of those employee files that Simon and Jeremy were showing you. So you'll be able to send off the kind of employee master file, so you're not needing to double enter data within your ADP instance. So this will flow into your ADP and you can cut your checks there. Now, once we've paid our contractors and we've gotten all of our timesheets approved, kind of invoice review. So you could go into all the invoices, and what happens at either scheduled time or when you define, all those timesheets get consolidated into their different invoices. And the unique thing that we do is we group by different client requirements. We really design for organizations and staffing, because it doesn't matter, even if you don't have it now, you might onboard a new client that has unique requirements, how you could combine them. We could really do a huge amount of different combinations around that. So in that case, I have these different timesheets. I might want to review a specific one. So I'm going to drill down into that invoice here. And so we get a breakdown of the line items. And the other key thing is we also are able to feed in, when we export the GL, payments back if you do have a general ledger that supports that kind of bidirectional integration with our middleware partner Interweave. We're able to feed back that payment if you move with our middleware solution, to have that come in, so you could really see both your payment or invoice information as well as your payment. So when you do review all these, you might make any adjustments. Example adjustment is, okay, on this one, we've actually talked to that contractor and he's or that client, and they said, we're unhappy with something, so we want to add, give them a little discount. So we have the ability on any placement, you can go in and create what we call a placement adjustment. This is wherever we have something where we want to maybe we're giving them a volume discount that starts on a certain day, or maybe we're giving them we're charging them for a background check fee. So you're able to manage that and set effective dates for those new fees, et cetera, start dates and end dates. Also part of it, any adjustments we can have flow into a credit memo than just an invoice. But in this case, we've, we might have made an adjustment. We've reviewed our invoices. We're going to email them off. So we can mass email them from that list. But I want to show you an example of what these invoices look like. Now, you're used to QuickBooks, and this is really the same kind of interface as QuickBooks. But we could also, as part of a professional services, be able to implement a custom template for you. So if there is a unique way you want the invoice to look, we're able to support that, as well as just formatting and logos, etc. Now this gets included. What also gets included is a time card report, so that the person that's approving the time is a separate person than the person submitting the time. So, or actually receiving the bill. So they need a visualization into all those hours and times associated to that. So both get attached and sent off in a single email to that billing contact. What we try to do is make it easy for really you to be able to pay out your contract or your definitely your contractors when you run payroll, but your recruiters and salespeople, but also to be able to give them visibility. It really incentivizes them to be able to see this. So, you know, first example is, here's the example of commission statement report that you would run, Ted, to be able to see, here's my payouts I need to do for a period. And you might want to see the, you know, things like the total base spread we've collected for all of our contract or permanent fees. Also things like our final spread, so the commission payout we need to do, as well as on each individual recruiter or sales rep, you could see the breakdown of each of those timesheets, and also ensure that they're keeping a good margin, right? So if you see people with a lower rate card, you might want to have a conversation. This is an example. You would have, you know, a lot of that data visible, not just from commissions, but really the platform, as mentioned in the beginning. Now, an individual might want to have just a commission statement if you want to give them access, you know, drive that kind of incentive where they could see real time how they're doing against the commission. Oh, I got to pick it up. I want to make more money, So how we kind of generate this is we get the data from all the timesheets. And, you know, I definitely want to vet your commission plans, but we're able to support a lot of different commission structures, mainly around things like tiered structures. So if you accumulate spread and you hit different tier levels because you want to incentivize for the amount of business they bring in, or you might want to incentivize them based off the gross margin. So you could actually set up different commission plans. And I mean, do you have any old school recruiters that have a grandfathered plan?
Yeah, we do. Let's take a look at that. Let's see the grandfathered ones.
We allow you to have multiple commission plans. You could have a person that might have a perm versus a contract plan. So here's just an example of the kind of configuration you could do around this. Of course, we'll definitely want to understand your commission plans further to make sure that we could support. But the key thing is we're able to set up tiers and accumulation, etc. So you could get that data to be real time within the system. And the other key thing I didn't highlight in the beginning was we also support 6 levels of commission splits. And that's a real big differentiator. A lot of other systems, if they could handle commission splits, it's only a couple. So, you know, if you do want to, as you grow your business, open up different branches, you want to give them a 2% cut, you want to give, you know, people that refer a percentage, you're able to do that.
What a great demonstration that our team has provided today of the system. Heather, Simon, Sean, Jeremy, Michael, I really appreciate the time you've given us today and the very detailed demonstrations you gave of the power of the Business Edition. They're a great bunch of new features. We're very excited about it. It's a lot of work our team has put in. We want to thank everybody for participating in our webinar. If you're interested, please take a moment to fill out our quick survey so we can follow up with you. And if we were unable to address your questions, we'll try and do so via email. Thanks so much, and thank you again for your time.